Using logical reasoning. Concept 1, conditionals and converses. A conditional is an if-then statement. An example of a conditional is, if a polygon has four sides, then it is a quadrilateral. The hypothesis is the part following if. So in the sentence, that would be, a polygon has four sides. The conclusion is the second part of the sentence, which is the part following then. So an example of that is, it is a quadrilateral. A converse is when you switch the hypothesis and conclusion in a sentence. An example of that would be, if it is a quadrilateral, then a polygon has four sides. So it's opposite of what the original sentence was. Concept number 2, biconditionals, inverses, and contrapositives. A biconditional is when a conditional and its converse are true. So an example of that is, a polygon has four sides if and only if it is a quadrilateral. A negation has the opposite meaning of a statement. So, an example of that is to say, I like geometry. To negate that statement is to say, I don't like geometry. An inverse is when it negates both the hypothesis and conclusion of a conditional. So, if you take the original sentence, if a polygon has four sides, then it is a quadrilateral, and then make it an inverse, then it'll be like this, double negative. If a polygon does not have four sides, then it is not a quadrilateral. So it said it was a double negative. A contrapositive is when a sentence interchanges and negates both the hypothesis and conclusion of the conditional. So an example of that is, if it is not a quadrilateral, then a polygon does not have four sides. So the contrapositive basically is a converse of a sentence and a negation combined into one. Examples of these is example 1, identify the hypothesis and conclusion of each statement. So, the original statement was, if a polygon is a pentagon, then it has five sides. The hypothesis is, if a polygon is a pentagon. The conclusion is, then it has five sides. Example number 2, write the converse of each statement. The original sentence is, if a triangle has three congruent sides, then it is equilateral. The converse of that is, if it is equilateral, then a triangle has three congruent sides. So it's the opposite. They switch the hypothesis and conclusion. Example 3, write the two statements that make up each statement. The original sentence is, if a triangle is acute, if and only if it has three acute angles. So one statement would be, if a triangle is acute, then it has three acute angles. And the second example would be, if it has three acute angles, then a triangle is acute. Example 4, write the inverse and contrapositive of each statement. Original sentence is, if it is a weekday, then he must go to school. Now the inverse of that would be, if it is not a weekday, then he must not go to school. Then the contrapositive is, if he must go to school, then it is not a weekday. So that is using logical reasoning.